Hi guys, it's Shanita again, and as we can see, right now I am working on quite a few gifts, quite a few pair of floral slippers today, and this video is about assembly. So, with that being said, the first thing I want to say about these floral slippers, like the first ones I showed putting a sole on to, is that the pattern for these slippers, I purchased the pattern for these slippers at ePatternCentral.com, and the designer for these slippers is Patricia Hall. I personally am not a designer, I'm more of a maker. It's what I like to do. And I'm going to include a link to where you can purchase this pattern at ePattern Central, so you can just click that and get all the info you need in order to have you some really super cute slippers as well. Okay? Alright, so I got a lot of stuff in front of me, a lot of information about these shoes. First off, the soles. Let me show you the soles. Alright, the soles, to me, personally, when I was following the pattern, they ran big. I think it called for a 375 hook and F hook, but every pair I made seemed to come out larger than what the suggested size was, or what they said that it was. So what I did was I had to use several different hooks in order to get the different sizes that I actually needed. So I pinned them to a caulk board that I happen to have, or a blocking board. And for this one, well, it's kind of hard to see. I used a 3.25 hook for the size 5'6", and the same hook for a 7'8". As you can see the size differences. I'm using the same hook for the different sizes. As I said, they had been running large, so I had to make several of these samples in order to get people matched up with the right size, so the shoes wouldn't be big. Now, it comes in small, medium, large, being 5'6", and a 7'8", being medium. And on this blocking board here, it says that I have used a 3.5 hook, and the top one, the biggest one, is supposed to be a 910. Now that's with a 3.5, not a 375. If you had, can you imagine using a 375? How much bigger it would be? And then this is a 7'8", which I have here as well on the first one, but it's using a 3.5 and not a 325, so it's a little bigger. And I kind of been just making it, doing people's shoes, fitting people by having them come and like get sized up with one of these, so that way we can make sure we get the right fit for people, because they run large if you're just going to follow the pattern by itself, or if you're not a real good swatch gauge person like me, which I'm not, but I just kind of keep working with it until I can get it right. Okay, I'd like to have a better camera sometime in the future, so that way you'd be able to, you know, I can put it right on my hands and you guys can see exactly what I'm working with. Okay, so the first thing I did was make those soles in the size that I needed, and of course each one needed two. Okay, you needed two soles for each one. And once you have that done, so you're gonna have all together, you're gonna have two lefts, two rights, and you're gonna have, for the top part of your slipper, like here, the part you put your foot in, you're gonna need two for each one of those as well. Now, you can use probably any sole you want. The concept, I think, is probably going to be the same. And for the tops, the purpose for having the two is that because once you sew whatever you put on there, you're going to have that material in the back from where you sewed it in. And if you don't want that to be an eyesore, Then you make an extra backing so that covers the stitch work from the inside, and that's the purpose for having two. Okay, once you sew those together, I also have here, sorry, the soles, rubber soles that I'm going to stitch on as the last part that we're going to do here. Remember, I got those from the spa slippers. I just took my seam ripper and ripped all those, all the gauze off. And then, of course, for this person, I had to outline it for that person's shoe because, you know, size it to fit. All right, now we've got the pieces out the way. You got your tops and your bottoms, and let me move you down some. Okay, we've got our tops and our bottoms here, and then we've got some extra white yarn to sew the tops together with. I usually use safety pins to hold the two tops together so they don't shift while I am sewing them to each other, so that way they stay lined up nice and neat. So that's why I have some safety pins here. And then you're also going to need some foam. This is I think it's like an inch thick foam. The pattern will tell you exactly what you need. Let me see. Oh, sitting at my table, not a lot of room here. Let me see. This is, yeah, 1 inch thick foam. This foam comes two sheets in a pack. So yeah, and you can get that like at Walmart is where I got it. Anyway, the foam, of course, is the insert to give the shoe some height and volume or whatever. But you want to make sure that when you outline your soles for the shoe that you're preparing, that you outline it before you put any outside color or edging on, if you decide that you're going to go that route and use some colored edging or whatever. So that way you can get the fit for the sole before you added any extra material to it, so it'll fit in there. Okay, I mean, it's foam, it'll probably squeeze in anyway, but you want to get an accurate measurement, as accurate as possible. And I find that scissors will cut this foam with no problem, but an X-Acto knife glides through so much more smoother, so much more better. I really like to use the knife as opposed to the scissors because it gives you a better edge. All right, so those are our materials. We got the foam, we've got the soles, we've got our components for our slippers, and then whatever you design or whatever you're going to do to it to make it your own. All right, so let's get started. Since I already have my two pieces and my flower component already added on and sewn together, I'm going to attach it to one of the slipper bottoms. Of course, you have to do that first. You can't do it once you got the foam in there. It'd be too hard for you to do. I have a string at the top, a long string at the top, and a long one at the bottom. Now that's just the way I personally prefer to have it, because you're going to take your darning needle and you're going to sew this to the top part of your shoe, and having these strings long edges like this keeps me from having to add or connect another piece of yarn to stitch on as I go along, because I've already got it on there, so I can just work down one side and work up the other side, and it saves time to me. Okay. Okay, I know this is not the best. I really am going to get a camera one day. You want to try to line this up. You want to try to line this up as best you can across the width of the shoe. Okay, try to make it even, and then you'll start your stitching, which I'm going to need a needle for here. Let's see. We will start, I guess we're going to start at the bottom because this is the piece I got right now. Excuse me. So, all right, I'm connected. I'm going to line this up and I'm going to pin it down with a safety pin to keep it from shifting around as I am whip stitching it, because it's just a basic whip stitch you're going to do to connect this top to the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to pin it right here like that. You can't see it. I can't see it. Let's see if I can do something about my light. I'll be right back. Okay, so I started whip stitching my top to my sole, and I'm going to whip stitch both sides, and then I'm going to come back. You know, I'm assuming that we all know how to whip stitch if we're sewing and creating patterns and things like that. Then we all know that a basic whip stitch is just going over and around whatever piece you're working on to attach it to another piece. So that's what's going on here. So whip stitch your both sides, and then I will come back to show you how to cut and add the foam. By the way, most things, and I'm thinking you probably know this too, when you're done with your whip stitching each side, you want to run your yarn needle through the back side of your shoe, maybe 3 times, using different stitches, of course, each time. So that way, when you snip it off, then it won't come out or unraveled or show up loose or anything like that. Although this will be the inside of your shoe, you still want to make sure you take precautions to make sure that your work is not going to come apart. Okay, and I will be back shortly after I get the top part whip stitched. We can move on. Okay, I finished putting my component on to my sole, and there was one thing I did not mention, but I think I should mention it now, is that when you are putting the components onto the sole, to not stitch into your colored border. You want to stitch on the inside or in line, on the inside lines of that. Okay, and also at your ends, or each end of your slipper, top and bottom, you want to reinforce those attachments. Maybe, you know, whip stitch it 2 or 3 times, maybe 3 times is good, in the same place, because you have to remember that people are wearing these on their feet, and they don't want to pull, you don't want them to pull those, so you want them to be nice and secure. Okay, and those are the 2 things I wanted to mention about sewing your component onto your sole, is security on on your ends, and to remain inside the lines of your borders if you choose to have a border. Okay, all right, now since I've got that part done, it's time for me to fill it with the foam insert, which I can't see it, have already outlined. I've already outlined my sole, my foam, and I'm going to use scissors, even though I will prefer an X-Acto knife, a craft knife like this one, but this one's a little rusty. Opened up, it was a little rusty, so you know, I don't want it to be an issue. Or this is a utility box cutter. These work good too. It's just got a single edge blade in it, you know, like most box cutters do. It'll work just as good. Or, you know, we're gonna go with your good old-fashioned scissors here, and we're gonna cut that out. And once you get it all cut out, then I'll show you what's next. Okay? Okay. Okay, I'm back. I cut my foam piece out, and before we can install the cushion, the foam piece, we have to stitch the 2 soles together halfway, like halfway from the middle, say from the middle of the bottom to the middle of the top. So that way you'll have like a pocket. Then you can, with a pocket you can stick your, shove your foam in there. So in order to make sure that I'm always lined up, I'm going to take a safety pin and I'm going to pin the two soles together. Pin the two soles together, one down here at the bottom, and usually one, I put another pin at the top to make sure that it doesn't shift while I am sewing around to attach the soles together. I don't want it to move around while I do that. So I put a pin here at the top, at the bottom, and I put a pin here at the top. That's just for me, I just, don't like to get to a point where I've gone so far and realize that my stitches aren't right because my material had shifted on me. Alright, so with that being said, we're going to take our hook, our crochet hook, and we are going to work in the loops of our house shoe. Probably want to start in the center of the back loops and work all the way around until you've got half of your shoe closed off. Okay, remember we're going to leave half of it open in order to create that pocket to shove our foam in. Okay, so you just want to single crochet that. You're not going to slip stitch it all the way around. You're going to single crochet that all the way around until you get to the top of your shoe. Okay, and then you're going to stop there, and at that point we're going to put our foam in, and then we'll continue to close it off. So slip stitch around, not slip stitch, I'm sorry, single crochet all the way around from point A to point B, midway between your shoe, and I will come back with the rest. Okay, so I finished sewing around my soles halfway, and there's a pocket, like I said, to make the pocket. And in this pocket, that's where we're gonna stuff in our foam. And I've already cut my piece of foam to put inside, and I'm gonna shove that in there, like right now, I guess. Be good. And you put it in there. Don't worry. Don't think that it won't fit. It will. It's foam, and you can just squeeze it, and it will. As you close it up, it'll conform to the shape of the shoe. It doesn't mean cut it extra big. It just means that, like here. Well, it's kind of where it's sticking out a little bit here and here. A little bit there. As I go along, as I stitch along to connect the pieces together, I'll be pushing it down as I go, and as I sew it together, and it'll enclose it, and then at that point, it just conforms to the shoe. Okay, so no worries, it'll come out just fine. So from that point forward, I'm just gonna pick up my hook again, and I'm gonna start finishing off my shoe by single crocheting around until I get to the back end, where I will slip stitch it with the last stitch made, or the first single crochet made, and tie it off. In my shoe, on these particular shoes, not on all the shoes I've made so far, but on these shoes, I've actually stitched in the letter L and the letter R, because my sister, these are for her, has a problem kind of distinguishing the right from the left. And to distinguish the right from the left in these shoes, I've found is that if you look at the top of the toe, the toe that has the most stitches in one combined place, in one place, that's going to be that side for that foot. So this has the most stitches clustered together right here at the top on the left. This is the left shoe. So she can't, I mean, she didn't, to her, it's just like, I don't know. But at any rate, to make it easier for her, I've already put a little, with the color thread I'm using, I put a little letter L in there. And on the other one, I put a letter R right there on the end. So that way, from this point forward, she should have no problem knowing which is her left and which is her right. If you find that you have that problem as well, I suggest that you also do the same by putting the letter on there. You know, not real big, but, you know, small enough for whoever you choose to gift it to, or for yourself, to know the difference between left and right if you can't read it by the stitches. You would think that, you know, it would just look like a left and a right, but technically, really, they're both done a little bit differently because they are left and right. So the shape at the top is not consistent on both shoes. So therefore, when you're working them, your soles, make sure that's if you use this pattern. If you use your own soles, then you want. But if you use Patricia Hall's pattern or the pattern you get from E-Pattern Central, then make sure that you only do one set at a time. You don't want to go from the left one to the right one, from the left one to the right one. You want to stay consistent and group them together, okay? So that way there's no, when you get ready to sew up your product, your finished craft, then you're not saying, uh-oh, this one doesn't look right. This one doesn't look like the other one. So do them both at the same time for each side, and then separate. Make sure you keep each side separate from the other while you're working. Especially if your workspace is like mine, that's got craft stuff all over it. I mean, it's hard to even sit on my couch, but it's okay. I like it like that. I like to sit. I'm happy sitting in my craft stuff. Okay, so go ahead, and as you can see, I'm already halfway through the top part, and I already got the foams already inside, and I'm working my way down here to the bottom. Like I said, as you go, you just squeeze it in as you go along, and it's going to take shape, okay? And when you get done, you'll have a nice gift to give your mom, maybe. Today's the day before Thanksgiving, so you know, I might be a little bit late now, but there's always Christmas, right? So I'll be back with the finished shoe before, which is not the end of the project, but it's the end of the completion of putting the shoe together. We still have to sole it. And as you remember, if you recall, if you have looked at any of my other videos, then you already know that there's already a video out there with the sole already attached. So, okay, I'll be back. Okay, I have come to the end of my shoe, and I am going to tie it off and weave in the tail. And at this point, you just, you know, shape it, squeeze it a little bit, shape it so it conforms to what you've done already to the shoe. And if you want a more stable shoe, one that is going to have the longer wearability factor, and it keeps your shoes a little bit more cleaner, then you know that I have another video already out that shows you how to attach a rubber sole to the bottom. Okay, so this is my finished upper on my floral slipper that I made by Patty Hall. Okay, and right now, as of today's date, which is November the 25th, day before Thanksgiving, or is it 26th? Well, it's the day before Thanksgiving, and as it sits right now, you can get this pattern for, I think it's $2.99. I think it's typically normally $5 and I don't know, some change, almost $6. And I was on their site today, and it's on sale. So now would be a really good time to get that pattern from ePatternCentral.com. I'm going to leave a link for that. Have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for watching.